But with that, I'm going to hand straight over to Christine and Fiona. So, Christine and Fiona, over to you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, hi, my name's Christine. I'm Head of Professional Services at SourceSense International. And my role really is to help teams make sense of complexity. I work with organizations to get the most out of their Atlassian toolset so they can collaborate better, communicate efficiently, and do what they need to do within their businesses. What I want to achieve today is to help teams work better together. So we're going to talk about a few of the Atlassian products today. We just want to help you, whether it's in product, delivery, or business analysis, or simply by identifying ways you can manage ideas, decisions, and have more effective execution. It's my very first foray into webinars, so please be gentle. And thank you very much to Adrian for giving us the opportunity to have this chat with you today. Fiona, if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Fiona, and I'm a product specialist at SourceSense. And I love uncovering the real reasons that teams get stuck and helping them to move forward, whether that's a process bottleneck or a tool misconfig or just lacking clarity. I work closely with lots of our customers to optimize their setup and help them get the best results. And I want to show you how the right setup with some small improvements can lead to some big wins, some better collaboration, better visibility, and better outcomes all across your teams. And just like Christine, this is also my very first time on a webinar. So yeah, please go easy on us. And a thanks again to Adrian for pulling this together. We're excited to be part of the conversation. So we're going to kick things off today with a poll. So Adrian, if you could please share the poll for us, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm just loading the poll now. So the poll
Perfect.
is now launched. So you should see something pop up on your screen and you can vote on that poll.
Excellent. So I'm going to talk you through this a little bit to give you a minute to do the poll. And we're interested in getting your feedback as experts in your areas. So what's the biggest challenges that you're facing as business analysts? Is it your unclear or constantly changing requirements? Is it managing stakeholder expectations? Is it fragmented information across tools? Is it ineffective communication across teams? Is it prioritizing features and initiatives effectively? Or is it the elephant in the room, which is generative AI? So if you could have a think, just from our point of view, while you're voting to like fill time almost, like lift music, we do have the community events for Atlassian happening across the world. I know we've got people from different countries. They're really great ways if you want to learn more about Jira and Confluence and functionality and the best way in using it. If you get involved in any of those, they're really nice events as well. So, for example, I was at the London community event, which was hosted by the Atlassian community down in London with Bruce Cullen, and it was really great. There was a lovely presentation on how the Deaf Society, Children's Deaf Society, has made a big difference to deaf children and how they use Atlassian features for that. It's really a great community to be involved in. So if you have a chance, do have a look at it. It is something that's really good fun. And Fiona, what about yourself? Filling time.
Yeah, so I've been to the Atlassian team events that they put on. So sadly not in California, although that's my next goal. But we went to Barcelona last year and we'll be going to Barcelona again this year. So if any of you do attend Team 25, do let us know, connect with us on LinkedIn. We'll be happy to grab a drink with you while we're there. And then, I like to try and go to as many events as possible. I met Adrian at a community LinkedIn event called Uplift Live, which was a really, really great event. Some great people I connected with there, and we'll be looking forward to connecting with as many of you as possible after this event.
Fantastic. So we have 80% of people have voted. So are you ready for me to reveal the poll?
Yes,
Let's
let's
do it.
do it.
Okay, right. So this should pop up on your screens. If it doesn't, Fiona and Christine, let me know.
Okay.
Sure.
I think you should see that now.
I don't have anything yet, but oh, there it
I
is.
do now.
I'm
There we
sharing
go.
my screen. So, right. So let's have a little look. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? So there's a general mix of issues across the board. There isn't one single thing that's kind of tying the teams down. So we've got unclear or constantly changing requirements affecting about 1 in 5. So that's really interesting. So those changing requirements are really impacting the work that you're doing as analysts. We've also got about a quarter having fragmented information across tools, and that is, that's why we're here a little bit to talk about these tools today. But the way in which tools connect together and how you can use different integrations is really probably very important to the people there. And then the winner is ineffective communication across teams. And that's quite a common thing that we come across. You know, the ability to communicate succinctly, clearly, you know, I'm even trying now to communicate clearly, to get that information shared between people, both synchronously and asynchronously, is really important. And we kind of hope we can give you some information today that will help with that, whether your organization uses it or whether you use your own tools to do it, because Atlassian has a great tool set, but there are other tools that do some parts of this, so we're not going to shout at you if you don't use Jira. Okay. Let's have a look at the next slide. There we go. Okay, so these are issues, all of these issues we talked about, but those three issues especially are prevalent through the delivery methodology, as the way requirements are sourced often impact perceptions of the system. I've personally seen retrospectives where teams have worked hard to deliver a quality solution, but poor feedback scores from business users mean that their way in which the system is perceived is negative instead of positive, even though a lot of work will have gone into getting those requirements delivered. I've worked with some excellent BAs as well, some who I would be happy to recommend, some who may be hiding in the background here today, but let's not focus on that. But of course, when people are more junior or when they haven't been in the business very long, they can't always know everything they need to know and understand how all the functionality works. We're humans, not chatbots. So what we want to talk about is how some of the best BAs we've ever worked with are the ones who understand that the tools and the software is there to help them do their job and facilitate communication between stakeholders, analysts, and development teams.
I agree, totally agree. So let's consider one of the big challenges a business analysts face on a day-to-day basis. And I'll go through just a few of them here. And the biggest one that stands out for me is, how do you decide what solution to recommend for a suggested requirement? And how do you bring together all of the stakeholders, the product managers, the product owners, the architects, the developers, the testers, the DevOps, you know, the list is endless, to enable all of those people to agree on an approach based on evidence and not a gut feeling? Or perhaps you're working in a smaller team and future users need to understand the why behind a change that's being made. You know, the why is very important. And how many of you have experienced a situation where a decision is needed on the direction of a change, but nobody's willing to commit to that choice? And this is usually due to not having all of the information needed to enable the idea to move forward. For example, you know, have you ever experienced a requirements capture that's been affected by lacking evidence? It's one of those moments where the lack of clarity can bring everything to a complete standstill. And Christine, I think this is something you've had some real experience with in the past as well.
Yeah, I've definitely seen the ability to communicate, translate. I've worked with companies where we've had development teams in different countries who are working on translated information. We've worked with customers where we've wanted to provide information to them, but we have different time zones. So yeah, change is inevitable. Generally, it's about how we make it happen and how we communicate it. So why Atlassian? Well, there's a proliferation, I can't even say that word, folks, of tooling and applications expanding through businesses, all giving a variation of functionality, price, and support. The concept of a single source of truth is continuing to be diluted. If a business wants to scale and grow effectively, a level of tool definition is required, but which one? Given that you've registered for this webinar, we're assuming you're interested in Jira or Confluence. So most of you will have heard of Jira. Please don't call it Jira. It's not. Yeah, don't. A number of you may have also heard of Atlassian. So possibly through their F1 sponsorship of Williams Racing. Let's not mention the weekend. Over to you, Fiona.
Cool. So why Atlassian? Well, it's not just about familiarity. Tools like Jira and Confluence are now part of something much larger. And in fact, Atlassian was recently named leader in a value stream management by Forrester. And if you're really that interested, you can Google that and read the full report. And for me, that really highlights how far these tools have come in the last kind of decade that I've been working with them. And they're not just about tracking tasks anymore. They're about connecting teams, optimizing delivery, and scaling with your business.
Excellent. So let's get a bit of our background just to give people a bit of confidence. about our expertise in these areas. So my first experience with Jira was installing a server in 2012, which feels like a long time ago.
It
I had
was.
help from an operations team, of course. And in previous organizations, there were forward-thinking people who realized that Jira could be used to communicate to geographically separate locations as well as customers to give visibility and allow collaboration. We even used Jira as a service management tool before Jira Service Management existed. How about you, Fiona? What's your origin story for Jira?
So my background actually stems from customer service. Initially, I was working in the cash desk in a building society, and I was offered a secondment in testing, and I grabbed that with both hands. You know, I've always had an interest in processes and being quite analytical, and I became the lead defect manager within the test team, working closely with all of our BAs and the test team and the developers. And I was given Atlassian to implement as the team's tool of choice for defect management. And I quickly learned that it was capable of much more than just tracking defects. Fast forward that a couple of years, and I'd helped to roll out Jira DC to the entire IT department and single-handedly trained probably 90% of the staff that were there. Before moving on to a stint in aerospace, where I've kind of administered Jira there. And then I've settled here at SourceSense for almost nearly 2 years now as a product specialist. But enough about us. Today, we'd like to give you an insight to some of the newer developments from Atlassian and how they can help you be the best you can be at your role. So let's dive into the Atlassian part of our chat today. Let me just...
Okay, so as you can see from the screen, this is kind of a top-level view of the Atlassian ecosystem. So there are lots of different applications, products that you can get as part of this, which are all interconnected and can talk to each other. And we wanted to mention this because when we do a bit of the demo later, this is going to make a bit of sense towards what we're talking about within that. And what you'll see is that there is what's considered to be the cloud platform, and it's basically the cloud solution, the SaaS solution that Atlassian are providing. And you'll be able to use multiple products within that to talk to each other. And here you can see in the blue section, this is the Teams section where you've got Confluence, Jira, and a product called Loom. For those who don't know Loom, it's a way to record meetings and to do AI transcription of meetings directly into other systems. And there's also the kind of the center point, which is Rovo. Now, Rovo is the AI solution from Atlassian, which is the system by which you can look across all the different tools and finances. And we will have a little look at that in a little bit as part of the demo. The reason I wanted to mention this is it's because it's worth noting that they have got different solutions for different teams. So you can see software teams here, and you can see service teams, including IT, JSM and asset management. You've got leadership teams, including talent, which is very, very new, literally only came out a few weeks ago for general release, and some aligned stuff. But the thing that we're going to mention next is product discovery. So product discovery is aimed at product teams. And it's important to note that product discovery is the thing that we're going to demonstrate, but it's built for strategic reasons to intersect directly into Jira. So when you think about product discovery, it is almost like another layer of project type inside of Jira. So that's what we're going to demonstrate today, hopefully. And just quickly to note that Atlassian have realized that lots of people are buying Jira and Confluence together, and they have created a new package called the Teamwork Collection. And the Teamwork Collection actually gives you more benefits for the same prices you would get if you were buying these things individually. So if you are influencing any spending or buying, it is worth looking. If you're using these three products with Rovo, then it is important to actually think about that. But let's jump into some more information about this. So product discovery, and let's use the formal language, is the strategic product management tool designed to help product teams capture, prioritize, and align ideas before they come to delivery work. It's purpose-built for product discovery, idea management, ideation, and roadmap alignment, allowing product managers and business analysts to operate upstream of delivery-focused Jira projects.
So, as analysts, I'm sure you're all familiar with ideation and prioritization. We've all been there. And I know Adrian has covered elements of this in his previous webinar. So, if you haven't already done so, please, go back and check those out as well. So, Jira Product Discovery is created with three pillars to support the application's purpose. The first one being bringing the best ideas to life by gathering all of the data, all of the insights that help your teams prioritize what will make the most impact. The second one is spending less time updating and persuading by using custom views and roadmaps. And these give your stakeholders the what, the when, and the why. And we all know our stakeholders, they prefer things to be nice and simple and nice and colourful. And finally, it brings business and tech teams together by connecting product ideas to the delivery work that's already happening in Jira. And as we spoke about previously, the collaboration and the communication is probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks as BAs. So that, having a tool that helps you overcome that is really, really vital.
Excellent. Okay, so without further ado, let me go back one. I clicked too fast. Let's have a look at an actual live product demo. So this is generally what you'll see when you land inside of one of your boards inside of Jira. And let's just clarify, we're doing demos on the cloud functionality. A lot of the things that we'll look at today doesn't exist on DC. There may be plugins that do it. There may be some functionality coming, but the focus of the strategy from Atlassian has been on the cloud, and we do expect most of the changes to be coming in the cloud and the improvements, so just so you're aware. And what you'll see, this is kind of like a board if you landed in your actual Jira. And this is kind of like the home page if you're landing in Jira, and hopefully everyone can see this okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you into a Jira Product Discovery project. So I am going to do that here. I have one that I prepared earlier. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at some of the functionality. Now, I have promised Fiona that I'll keep this to 10 minutes because I am known for overrunning with my demos. So I will do my very best.
Just a tad.
Just a tad. So generally speaking, what you're looking at here is all of the ideas that have been loaded into this project. So it's a way of creating requirements, ideas, information, and you can have this structured in the same way as you would structure Jira. So you can have epics and you can have ideas within epics. You can section it up into different categories. But realistically speaking, what you've got is a list of ideas that have been submitted through whichever way you want to capture your ideation or your requirements, and the ability to tag lots of information with it. So realistically speaking, what Jira is giving you is the ability to filter those tickets based on information that's been provided. And this information has some special fields that you don't get in generic Jira that's going to help you do certain things. So for example, if I have a look inside of this ticket here where I've put in a ticket for doing a webinar, which is apt, you'll see here that there is a few different things that are a little different to your usual Jira. So for example, you have the option to have an insight. So what this is the ability to, when you're on a web page or when you're in a meeting or when you've got a Confluence document you're reading, or if you've got a service management ticket, or you're in Slack or you're in Teams, and someone says something and it very much resonates with the idea that's been logged or the change that's been logged, you can actually capture that and have it added as a list of items within those tools. So you will be able to load insights from email, from Teams, from Slack, but also there's a Chrome plugin that you can use, an extension, where if you're just wandering around the internet, you can clip things from that, especially if you're doing user experience testing or A/B testing as part of your input for data. So there's lots of ways to get insights and feedback into the actual tickets that you've raised for your ideas. You can also load relationship to delivery, which we'll have a look at as well. So here you can see that this idea is related to Jira software tickets where different teams are doing work. It could be more than software, but we're going to talk about software generally in this stage. So for example, you can see here that I've got a ticket related to design, I've got a ticket related to engineering, and I've got another story instead of a task. And this basically relationship between the idea and the issues I've raised in Central Jira can be logged and shown as delivery progress. So you can actually see the progress of the work that you've been doing towards that idea and how it's progressing forward. So that's how that relationship works. this is what you can see here is different types of views for the data. So you can have different views of the information that you've got. So for example, if you want to do impact scoring, so one way is I have an impact that I assign as part of the workshops that I'm doing. I also have insights coming from people who are feeding in customer interviews, user research, sales opportunities, messages that I've captured from many different places. And I'm creating an impact score to help me prioritize those ideas, to understand which I should be pushing with the delivery team and which I should be holding back. And if this is the method you use for your prioritization, that's great. But I've got quite a few other examples if you're interested. So here you can see a value definition. So I'm taking a value indicator and an effort indicator to create an impact score. But I'm also marking up the confidence I have about the fullness of this requirement, about the completeness of the idea, and I'm marking that up. And if I'm doing some kind of marketing segmenting or some kind of work to do with splitting things up, I can do that as well using customer segments. And another view I have here is by goal. So what I wanted to note here is I have the cost of the delay, but I want to know which goal within my organization I'm meeting, because that means the people who look at goals and use the goals that you can get inside of Jira now and across the Atlassian functionality, I can see a relationship with those goals, and I can basically have a goal with all of the ideas and all of the development tickets and all of the support tickets associated to that goal. Whether you're doing high-level goals, which are high strategy, or low-level goals, which are application-specific strategy or some kind of process that you want to follow. And the main thing to note here is that you can design these fields to act the way that you want them to act, but you have the ability to create views and share those views with your leaders, with your developers, with your colleagues, choosing the view that you feel will best benefit them. So you can have multiple different measures if you want to, and share those as required. And that's done via this publish button. So what you will see is it doesn't work for the cost of delay field, but I will find the one that it does work for. This is always where you get the test, isn't it? Okay, program planning. Here you can see that you can share that to anyone externally. Now the calculated fields change for sharing will come soon. So that's one of the restrictions currently, but we will get that very, very soon. But as you can see here, I can also put the tasks into a program plan inside of the ideas system. So I can suggest how teams could be working on these different changes. And it is drag and drop. So I can basically move things around as required so that I can actually do a little bit of program planning for the individuals in the teams that I work with. This isn't fixing the team to doing that deliverable. It's giving a recommendation. So if you're dealing with C-suite and you need to just give them an indication of when they could do the changes, this is one of the ways in which you can do that. There's also board views for those who like boards. And here you can see I've sliced and diced by categories, or you can do it by team, or you can do it by stage. So if you're running stages through your ideation from a workflow, you can do it from there as well. And this is the idea is that you can then filter and group the data as well in different ways, depending on what you want to say to your stakeholders. The other things I'll just briefly show you on this front is the cost of delay versus impact. You can have the ability to create these visualizations for people who find visual responses better than lines of data. And what you can see here is I've compared the cost of delay with the impact score to tell me the things that I think are most important that I want to work on. And you can see here they're in green, and they're in green because they've been given to a development team and they're being worked on as we speak. The things without the green are not linked to any delivery tickets, so I can see what I want to pick up next. Do I want to pick up this ticket, which is prioritize ITs with views and fields, or do I want to pick up this ticket, which is express checkout? So it gives me a kind of scatter understanding of the prioritization I'm doing. And then for the more technical amongst you, if you really want to, there is various ways to use calculated fields to create prioritization. For example, this is a RICE prioritization. So it takes reach, impact, and confidence climbs them together, and then divides it by effort in order to give me a more mathematical calculation of what the prioritization list should be.
I
So
just
these
thought you
are
wanted to order a Chinese.
no. This is one of many different prioritization methods that you could probably use if you wanted to. Some
Other
of
methods
them,
are available.
very much so. Some of them are maybe a little complicated for the actual field itself, but they can actually be done via Rovo agents or via automation. So if you do have something that is too complicated for the basic setup for JPD, you can actually extend it to use other systems. So I was going to give you a quick look at the project settings so that you could understand a couple of features that are just something to be aware of. So this is the feature, the custom field list that you get for JPD on the projects, and you can add your own. And I just wanted to briefly show you the custom formula. So you have the choice to do rolled up, weighted, or write your own. And if you write your own, you can put in commands. And these are custom fields that you've created within Jira. So you don't need to be a Jira admin to be doing field calculations within a Jira product discovery project. It is important to note that there are different types of users. If your organization does go ahead and wants JPD, there are two types. There is a contributor type, and that just means someone who has access to your Jira system. You do not pay for contributors. There is no cost associated with that. So if you have 500 people on your Jira, they can all be contributors if you take out JPD. If you want, creators are the paid part of this product. And what we would say is up to 3 creators are for free. So you don't pay for the first 3 creators if you take out JPD. So if you're a smaller organization, you can probably use this functionality without too much problem. If you're more than that, there's a standard and there's a premium version. And they are priced quite competitively with other types of tools that do this. So for standard, I think it's $10 a month per person, but you can get it cheaper for annual. This is just a kind of background kind of understanding, but you do not have to match the users to the number of people in Jira as you do with other things. So just to be aware, there is different levels of user numbers you can use for JPD. And then just, I think I have covered everything I had planned to cover. Do you have anything that you'd like me to touch on, Fiona, that I might have missed?
No, thanks, Christine. That was a very clear demo of JPD, and we have had lots of questions come in, and we will cover as many of those as we can at the end.
I could go a bit quicker, shouldn't I?
No, it's fine. And any that we don't get around to covering, we'll take away, and we'll come back to you individually with answers on those as well. So your question will be answered either later or tomorrow. But it's great to see JPD in action and to understand how it supports the whole discovery process. So to wrap up that great demo, in short, Jira Product Discovery empowers BAs to lead with insight. It gives PMs a discovery operating system, and it gives organisations a structured and scalable way to invest in the right things before they reach the sprint planning stage. And that's why it matters. But that's as much as we can share today on JPD. We've included a quick slide on tool sets, which you can see on your screen, and that will help you visualise kind of the process. But let's have a look at some Confluence bits and pieces now. I don't know how many of you are using Confluence. Give me a thumbs up if you're using Confluence, just to give me an indication of how many of you are familiar with it. I'm assuming quite a lot. So
you got the best response.
Yeah, perfect. So there's a lot of you are using Confluence. So you know what a good tool it is, already. It's got some great features such as collaborative editing, commenting, whiteboards, templates, embedded videos, connectivity to its other Atlassian apps. It's a great place for structured information that you need people to understand. However, like anything, if it's not managed correctly, it can become a little bit of a beast, which is where Rovo comes in for searching, etc., etc. But if anyone's got any tips that they'd like to share on Confluence, please feel free to drop them in the comments as well. Knowledge shared is great. But with Confluence, you can also import other whiteboard tools as well. So Miro, PDF diagrams, go one step further and use Rovo image searching to find all of that stuff. One of the latest features that I'm enjoying playing with at the moment is live docs. I'm not sure how many of you have got that rolled out to your instance at the moment, but these are a great way for you and your team to work on a document together without worrying about kind of where it's saved or if it's auto-saved or who's going to own it. Live docs simply enhances your collaboration, but equally it's important to be aware of some of the potential challenges with that as well. So we need to make sure that appropriate access controls are in place to prevent unauthorized edits. It's also important to remember that real-time edits are visible to all viewers, which may not be suitable for sensitive content. So there's a right and wrong place to be using live docs. And some of the third-party apps that are on the marketplace at the moment may not be yet fully compatible with live docs as well.
I confess, Miro is actually my favorite. We had
yes,
to.
yes.
Sorry.
Everybody's got to love a good Miro board.
Yes.
But another feature I think might be my new favorite is the Loom integration. So if you haven't used Loom, you can get a free version of Loom for up to like 5-minute clips. So it's worth checking out, because with Loom you can now record a Loom video, drop it straight into a Confluence page, and it's great for sharing kind of, if somebody's got a bug and they need to talk you through the process. It's good for sharing walkthroughs. Helping somebody understand, those really complex requirements in plain English. But what really stands out is that Loom can now automatically generate a transcript and a summary directly into a Confluence page from any meetings that you're in. So you go into Loom, you turn the toggle on for which meetings you want it to pick up, and it'll just do that automatically without you having to lift a finger. No more taking manual notes. It's all done for you. It's super handy for capturing the essence of a meeting and keeping everything in one place. For somebody as disorganized as what I can be, it's brilliant. It's a game changer for async work. People can catch up quickly without watching the whole video. They can speed you up, which is even better. And overall,
you like to do that to me, don't you?
I do. I do like to do that to Christine, unfortunately. 2 times speed is better than 1 time, hey? But overall, Confluence is a really good tool, and I like to think of it as kind of your internal intranet. It's fully customizable. It's full of all the useful things that you need to do your job. Everything in one place, all of your processes, your requirements, your meeting notes. The list is endless, and the search functionality for Confluence is definitely improving, and the link between Jira and Confluence and the Atlassian apps in general is improving. So you can create Confluence pages directly from Jira, directly, from lots of the other Atlassian tools if you're using outside of Jira and Confluence. And vice versa, there's connectivity with Jira as well. So you can place Jira issues directly in Confluence. So you're reducing the backwards and forwards between switching apps. I do think, looking at the time, have we got some time to briefly look at Rovo for those?
I can be quick.
Interested. Are you capable of being quick? So
yes.
Let me just.
Okay.
So what is Rovo? So Rovo is Atlassian's AI-powered teamwork assistant, and it's designed to help teams find, learn, and act on organizational knowledge across multiple tools. So you can search, you can use the chatbot to ask questions, and it will bring back answers based on what it finds in the system. And you can create automated agents that will look at specific areas of your system, and that's not just Atlassian, that's company-wide. So you can connect all sorts of tools to that. So I'll hand you back to our demo expert, who will give you the quickest whistle-stop tour you've ever seen, won't you, Christine?
Very much. Really, I'm just going to give you a taste of Rovo, because for some of us like me, visual works better. So the way in which this is all working is that Rovo is being rolled out to all of Atlassian tools that are standard. So free won't get it, but standard will. And premium and enterprise will also get it, but you'll have different levels of how many requests you can make, how much indexing you can do. So that's just something to be aware of. If you do go for the teamwork collection, you'll get 3 times as many commands that you can use, numbers of indexing, things like that. So it's just something to be aware of, that you can actually get a lot more use out of Rovo if you're using the teamwork collection. So here you can see I'm back in my Jira. And if I click on Rovo Chat, and for those of you familiar with LLMs, you will see that it's very much similar to that. There is a chat, and I can ask it questions like, what issues are assigned to me? And it basically is like using the language models to review everything inside of my Atlassian and come back with issues, and tells me summaries of information. So for those familiar with AI, it is very much like that. It follows the rules of the environment. So it looks at my credentials and will only show me things that my credentials are allowed. But the big benefit with this is that it will look across everything Atlassian-wise, but also further. So if I look at some of the things that you can do, here in Confluence, you can see there, same Rovo Chat. It appears in all of my apps, and I have the same information because I have one chat conversation going on. when I go to my home, so for those of you on cloud, you should know, but not everybody does because it's not obvious, that there is a home page. And in that home page, it does collect all of the things that I work on into one location and all of the different apps I have access. Now, my demo environment, I have access to a lot. But one of the things that I have access to in here is search, which is Rovo Search, Studio, which is the ability to create agents, and chat, which puts the chat across the whole system. Here you can see this is search. So if I just put in holiday rules, for example, it will search and it will tell me which tools it has found holiday rules for. And it will also give me information on that. So imagine you're onboarding and you need to find information about one of your colleagues. Imagine you need to find out about a requirement that was written 15 years ago and someone put a Confluence page in and copied it across to the new site. All of these kinds of things, you can actually do a search, and it's using language, but it will also take re-questions. So you can add further questions to further define what you're asking for. It's a very much a prompt-driven system. It's using ChatGPT in the background, the structure of it, and there's lots of details for those interested in that on how to do that. But as you can see, the chat is doing what it needs to do. Sorry, the search part here, the toolbar is sitting on top of my my browser tab, so apologies. But here is a way to create an agent. So agents are things that you can create inside your chat that you can share within your organization. So you'll be able to create the agents using language models. So you can basically tell it what you need it to do, and it will do that for you. So I'm going to say I would like a Confluence page creating when an alert is closed. So an ops alert. And you can see here that it will think about that, and then it will give me some suggestions on conversation starters, instructions, and things like that. But what I can also do when I go through the studio to that alert is I can add actions. So I can add all of these different types of actions to my alert. So I can basically do things like at the end of a week, I can say, can I have a weekly report with the information for this project in? And it will go and it will create me a Confluence page, and I can then automate that to send the emails out. So I actually have a lot of my weekly reporting automated using this system. So it's really very useful from that point of view. And one of the things I just want to show you very briefly, I promise, is here I'm at the admin level, and you can see that I've activated Rovo for these products. But the thing that I want to show you is that I can then connect to these different products as well. And Rovo Search will bring the information from these products into the search inside of Atlassian, inside of Jira. So actually, I can ask a question in Jira or Confluence of a requirement, and it will go away and it will pull the information. If I have information in GitLab, in GitHub, if I've got coding and I've got the ability to read the code, in Miro, in different tools like Slack. And these are just some of the connectors. More connectors are becoming available. And with these agents, here I can show you the agents here.
I'm close to pulling your kill switch, Christine.
Yeah, that's fine. Very quickly. These are different agents that come out of the box, and you have 3 types of agents you can use out of the box and all set up and ready for you to go. You can create your own through natural language, which is a very basic type that I showed you there, or if you really feel like it, you can buy some from the marketplace of things that have been created already. And I know Fiona mentioned the image search on Rovo. Rovo itself, out of the box, doesn't have image search, but there is an app for that. So it can be done, and we are getting demos of that as we speak. So the other thing is, if you are a developer and you want to do Forge development with Atlassian and create apps of your own, you can. I'm not going to go into that because that's much more technical and too deep for this conversation.
And because we don't have time.
We don't have time. So that was me being very, very quick with Rovo. So over to the last slide, Fiona.
Perfect. So we're coming close to the end, I promise. So the tips we've got here for you are just our favourites to help you kind of work smarter and not harder. Christy and I each have our own perspective on how we use these tools and differing needs from the tools as well. So my personal top three tips are, so in Confluence, I recommend you using templates and blueprints to make sure you've got better, more engagingly visual pages. Use the macros that are available to you and the gadgets to make your pages look smart. Set up automated notifications in, I've put Jira here, but I mean across your Atlassian app so you don't miss anything. But I also am aware that that can become cumbersome as well, where your inbox is just full of one notification after another after another. Believe me, we've got access to lots of customer systems. We get a lot. So you can tone those notifications down by going into your profile as well. So find yourself a balance between keeping your finger on what's happening and not being bombarded, and also ensuring that within your business the integration is fully complete between Confluence and Jira and any other Atlassian apps for that matter, so that you can reap the benefits of the collaboration. So many times the integration's not right, not completely there, or you don't understand that you can create a Confluence page from Jira and you're switching between apps all the time. Learn to find the little shortcuts that will make your life a lot easier in the long run. And Christine, what are yours?
So I think project templates in Jira are really useful. And there's lots of them. For example, the JSM ones follow ITIL 4, and you can get a lot of process and workflow out of the built-in ones. If you're using Enterprise, you can actually do custom project templates. So actually, you can set up your company's template and have that copied out as well. So we're hoping that that will come to the other versions very soon. We think it's really important, or I feel it's very important, to be consistent with work types and issue types. So stories, bugs, tasks. It's great that different teams can have different names for things, but anyone who wants to grow and scale, you've got to have consistency, especially if you've got goals, OKRs or KPIs to meet. You've got delivery management. You've got people working across different projects. If things are named differently, the context switching slows people down and creates bottlenecks. So it's really important to have consistency. And then I would suggest grouping work around problems, not teams. So you can actually create boards that go across projects, go across initiatives, so you can understand what a problem is. You don't have to just use a board associated with the project. You can create your own boards, so you can have your own point of view of what you're doing from that point of view. I said point of view twice. Okay, so that's us done with the demo part. I'm looking forward to the questions. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully we've given you a glimpse behind the Atlassian curtain. And if anyone's interested in access to our demo environment for a play, please do get in touch, because we are happy to give people access to demos to have a play themselves within the system, because I think it's a really good way of doing it.
And Christine loves dishing out a good demo. So if you want to hear more, unfortunately I don't. If you want to hear more, then get in touch. And Christine, thrives on a good demo. But finally, from us, if anyone does have any more questions, we've got a few that we're going to answer now for you. Do reach out. If you're like me, you'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and think, oh, I wish I'd have asked that. Get in touch, ask it, we'll answer it for you. And thanks again to Adrian for inviting us here to share our thoughts and knowledge with you. You'll get a fact sheet on JPD for those of you that are interested. And we're also offering a wellness check for you for all of your Atlassian apps that we can help you with. And hopefully that was insightful to some of you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Christine and Fiona. This is where, if this was a real life session, you'd be getting a round of applause. You're getting a virtual round of applause on the emojis now. You can see them all emerging. So I have just in the chat put links to Fiona, Christine, and my LinkedIn profiles. So do connect. That's also a great way of saying thank you and like a virtual round of applause. You'll also get links sent to you via email, providing you gave us permission to email you when you register for this. You'll get links to the Jira product discovery guide and stuff about the wellness check. But I have put that in the chat as well, so that's there. But we have a few minutes for questions, so I am going to pick some questions. So Rushma asks, what's the difference between a stakeholder request and ideation shown in the demo?
Okay, so basically the company was splitting things up between stakeholders, where they're saying that someone is a customer in usual sense, but it can be basically your own definition. It is basically you define what those are going to be. So you can have stakeholder requests, but you can also do ideation sessions where you go in, it's almost like a hackathon, and you guys probably know more about ideation than I do, but you can go in and you can create ideas and link them. So it's a way to slice and dice the data in a different sense, but it can be, the definition can be whatever you choose for it to be, generally speaking. These are guidelines of filtered data. So there isn't an actual thing within Jira that says a stakeholder must be this kind of person, unless you're in JSM when it does. So that's a different part of the system, to be fair.
Fantastic. And Rushma is saying, great, great. Thanks, Christine,
Thank you.
in the chat. And Rushma also says, we are using stakeholder requests for items raised by business customers during meetings. But I really like the ideation template and the ability to clip in items from browsers or Teams and emails, etc. So that seems to be a really popular feature as
And it's
well.
not obvious as well, because you'll go in and people will see the tab for insights, but it's a really great thing to be able to click on and add things from lots of locations. So it's one of those things that's really, we see a lot of our customers who use JPD actually using that function quite a lot, more than actually going in and writing tickets than anything else. They actually want to click proof to it, because that proof is the thing that they can move forward with their business.
Definitely, definitely. So Randall asks, are the features to impact, score, or prioritize within regular Jira, not the product discovery? So those sort of features and
Mm.
prioritization, are they in both or one or the other?
No, so they are Jira product discovery fields, and they aren't in the main Jira. No, you can create dummy versions of those with a percentage or some kind of calculated field, but they're mainly for the product discovery usage and the visualization within that. They don't exist in the same way in main Jira. No.
Fantastic. Um, another really interesting question from Bronia about the planning view. When the tasks are in progress, do they move dynamically?
So when you're looking at the plan view inside a JPD, it's related to the data that's associated with it, whether you're using workflow for the planning field or whether you're using a custom field. So if you change that data, they will move. So you don't have to move them. If you're thinking about plans within Jira, which is road mapping and advanced planning, which is a bit more like a Gantt chart, that's something a little bit different. But basically, because the plan column they're in and the position they're in is based on the data, if the data moves, they will move.
And fantastic. I'm going to bundle two questions together because I think they're aiming at the same thing or very similar questions. So, Diana asks, for the product discovery tool, can there be ideas tracked across multiple Jira projects, sorry. For example, we have 5 projects in Jira and a master backlog of ideas that one of the 5 teams using the projects can pull in. Um, Kind of similar to Jenna, who asks, can it support with high-level crossover in requirements across multiple projects? So is that
Yeah.
almost like that portfolio level architecture?
So you have a couple of choices here. And sorry, Fiona, I'm taking over.
No,
But
it's all good.
you have the ability to create multiple product discovery projects. So you can choose to have a project definition for a certain initiative if you want to, and another one, or you can have one big project that does things by Epic, but they can link out through delivery to multiple projects. So the example I showed you had 3 different Jira projects associated with it: an engineering project, a design project, and I can't remember the other one, mobile. So what you can have is you can have a one-to-many or many-to-many relationship or many-to-one relationship. It's completely flexible on that front.
Fantastic, fantastic. Great. So, and apologies if I pronounce anyone's name incorrectly. It's always hard when you're not physically here for me to ask how to pronounce people's names. But I think it's possibly Francisca. Francisca asks, with Confluence, is there a contributor type role so you don't have to pay for viewing licenses? And they go on to say that they were recently working on a business problem and used the whiteboard to create a customer journey map. However, it was a nightmare to share with people who didn't have Confluence licenses. So is there any kind of view-only free license on Confluence?
There is. So I'll steal this one and give Christine a breath. So in Confluence, you can have guest licenses, and for every paid Confluence user, you can have 5 Confluence guests. So if you've got 100 users, that's, my maths is crap, but it's 5 times 100. And you can add them to one space at a time. So if you've got somebody that needs to view something in a particular space, your guests can have access to one space at a time.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, that's probably that person's problem solved, or at least
Yes.
in a few minutes there. Um, Araceli asks, what is the adoption of these tools like by organizations that are constrained by compliance security requirements, such as the financial services industry? It's a really good question because quite often there are things that are
It
blocked
is.
and have to be pre-approved. There's AI governance requirements, those sorts of things. What kind of
Yeah.
adoption are you finding?
So we're finding a reasonably good adoption. What we find is that there are some organizations that don't want to delve their feet anywhere near AI. And that's understandable based on their own personal experiences and the way in which they have compliance. One of the big parts is that Rovo is restricted by and obeys all of the permission schemes that is set up. So if a user can see a ticket or a page in Confluence, they can get that information from Rovo. If they cannot, they will not see it. And it is not going out to ChatGPT or any of the LLMs. They're not learning from any of this. The Rovo functionality has been structured based on artificial intelligence and understanding how the system does searches, and it will pull updates from the large language models and update those, but it is not actually sending them anywhere outside of the ecosystem. So if you are using Atlassian, you are inside of Atlassian even when you're using Rovo. When Rovo is connecting to the third parties, it is following the rules of those third parties as well, associated with the login that you as the individual have to those third parties. So if it's accessing SharePoint, it can only reach the things that you have credentials for. So from that point of view, we are seeing those who are interested in AI and models using those systems quite a lot and taking on Rovo and adopting it. But there are people who do feel more nervous. We have DC customers who feel nervous generally about the cloud, and we've been given lots of great information by Atlassian and their trust center that will define the rules. For example, DORA is a recent financial rule in the European sector, and that's very much information is being provided about how these things work in order for compliance to be correct. So it's a tick box from that point of view.
Just to add to that as well, that SourceSense as a business, predominantly our customers are in the fintech financial services industry as well. So, you know, if customers don't adopt this, we're out of a job. It's as simple as that. So, you know, there is definitely a big uptick in the adoption. You know, AI, 10 years ago, people were frightened to move to the cloud, and now cloud has kind of become more normal. And eventually, AI is going to go the same route. AI is becoming normalized in businesses.
But I would say you can turn it off. So if
Yes.
your organization is unhappy, if it doesn't meet the compliance rules, there's a big part of the system where you can choose, for example, data residency. And that's really important, but a lot of people miss that part as well. So, you know, check your data residency if you've got compliance issues, but also turn it off if it's not suitable for your organization until you are happy or until you're not. But that's just some information on that.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I am going to take, we have an anonymous question, and of course, I should have mentioned that questions can be asked anonymously. We have an anonymous question that says, now that there is a product discovery with many details which can be added, linked to actual Jira tickets holding other AC, so acceptance criteria, and Confluence also collecting a larger amount of data to sort through, how do we navigate through one of the challenges of fragmented data across multiple tools? Or are all these products within the Atlassian environment or ecosystem? I guess Rovo is potentially part of the answer to that.
So they're all within the same ecosystem. The idea is that it's going to be a situation where you're not going to really know whether you're in Jira or Confluence in the far future, because you're going to just be, I click on this and I get the information I want. A lot of it is about how you define your process and systems as well, because acceptance criteria can be against the Jira ticket, but you also have definition of done, which is usually across a program of work. So your definition of done would live in Confluence, but you can present the Confluence information inside that Jira ticket through a frame where you just say, show me more information. So when you cut and paste Confluence in, to your Jira ticket, click on it, edit the link, and change the way in which the link shows. So it just looks like part of the Jira. But actually, then the Confluence page on the other end knows that that Jira ticket is linked to it, and you can do collaboration. But the Rovo search that I showed you on home, which is, if you can imagine, I'm above all of the different apps, is the thing that then gives you that I'm not in Jira Confluence. I want to know the acceptance criteria for this. It brings you the information. But this is the thing with all AIs, with all systems, with all the multiple systems that you may have outside of Atlassian or inside of Atlassian, is that the quality of the data is important. So you will often be finding that data quality and analysts are especially important from that point of view, because Rovo and other AIs, they can see all of the old stuff and what's out of date. And while it tries to understand if it's relevant, there's going to be different levels of relevance, whatever you do. So, for example, we have our company has an Italian section, and they're doing things with AI where it looks at code and can understand code and understand what that code can do, but verbalize it in a non-coding way, which is really great. And that's the same problem as we have with Rovo, is understanding what something is trying to do and getting that information off. So I think, analysts have big jobs in keeping everything to a high level of quality.
There's also a big shift coming from Atlassian. I don't know if anybody's seen the update, but I did post about it on LinkedIn the other day, that they're renaming Jira projects to spaces. And that aligns with Confluence having spaces. So they're trying to align the terminology. And we think that that's part of a bigger move to lessen the move between apps all of the time. You're not going to have to click into Confluence to see that data. It's just going to be present. So there's a big shift in Atlassian. They're starting to understand that teams outside of software teams are struggling with the wider Atlassian world, and they're trying to make that smaller and easier for people.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, we are just about out of time. We answered almost all of the questions, which was quite a hard ask given the number of questions there were. So thank you very much, Christine and Fiona. That was a fantastic session. I know from the comments in the chat that people have really found it useful and enjoyed it. How is the best way, if people want to know more about what you do at SourceSense, if they want to have a conversation with you, how can they get in touch?
So there's various ways. So we have a strong presence on LinkedIn. So you can have a look at some of the things that we've posted on LinkedIn, some of the information, and you're more than welcome to drop us a line there. We also have shared our email address as part of the presentation. So do drop us a line at that email address. And realistically speaking, one of us will get back to you, because one of the things that we like to do with our organization is have that personal relationship with the people that we talk to and help out. So any questions that you have, we're always happy to answer. And we'll always give you some kind of context. And if we don't know the answer, we'll be honest about it and say that we don't know the answer for sure as well. But basically, LinkedIn and email is the best way. If you're interested in case studies, we do have case studies on our website. And there are case studies on our partner Italian site as well. But yeah, those are the main ways I would suggest.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again, Christine, Fiona, for a fantastic presentation there. If you are attending live, do just hang on for just about 1 minute more, just a few closing community announcements. So first of all, just a link to the next webinar, and it's really interesting that there was a conversation about AI, because that is the topic of the next webinar, which is Beyond the Hype, AI's real impact on business analysis. I have a panel session with a number of people whose names you may well be familiar with, that you can see in the chat there. If you click through, you can you can register on that. Again, completely free, 29th of July, so in just over a month's time. Also, if you're not already aware, I hope you'd be aware if you're attending one of these webinars, but there is also BA Digest, which is a completely free quarterly PDF magazine. If you opted in to receive follow-ups when you registered for the webinar, you will get BA Digest for free in your inbox. Just in case you didn't do that, though, I'll just put the link in the chat for you. This is particularly exciting because the next edition, the Q3 edition, is currently undergoing its final proofing and will be out in 7 days' time. So if you're into BA stuff, do check that out as well. But all that's left for me to say now is, again, a huge thank you to Christine and Fiona for taking the time to share so much of your insight with us. Thank you very much for attending live or watching the recording. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you soon. Thanks again.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Take
Thanks.
care. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.